Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dudes and dudettes. How we doing? You okay? It's 2:30 on 9th of December. That's right, the ninth day of your advent calendar has been opened. I'm sure you're enjoying your chockies, and it is cold out there. But that can only mean one thing. It is an afternoon fantasy Premier League chat with me in the conservatory, live from the conservatory, as always, on a Monday afternoon. Too right. And this afternoon, we're going to talk about form and players going into the next game week of our fantasy football course. We are. I'm going to prep it up so you guys can see the usual bits. Here we go. So we have a game week 16 to come now. Obviously, there is a match this evening, West Ham versus Wolves. I gave you my thoughts at 10 o'clock this morning during that part about what I think is going to happen in that match. I reckon West Ham are going to scrape a win, but whether that saves Julian Lopetegui from the sack, I do not think so. Unfortunately, I think his time is up with West Ham. And the news about Michael Antonio doesn't help neither. He's had a car accident, didn't he? And he's going to be out for a year potentially. And there's also talk of him retiring. Yeah, as I said in one of the, I'm going to put up on X. I have a bit of an affinity with Antonio and Jamaica in general. So have a look out for that post a bit later this afternoon. But we'll look forward to the form players and little bits of fixtures coming up. So let's have a little look at where we're at. So that's my team, as everyone knows. In general, I do have a suspension in place for Lewis, unfortunately, who got red carded, didn't he, against Crystal Palace. He's out till the 21st of December. Got to be honest with you, wasn't really planning to start him against Man United. I just think that Dragusin, hopefully Liverpool play, and Colwell have marginally better fixtures. Although, hey, the way Man United play these days, anything's possible, really. Probably could have played him and he got a goal and a clean sheet if he wasn't suspended. So Colwell, probably Gomez and Dragusin for this week. That's probably my go-to. Dragusin will likely play because I think Romero or even Mickey van der Ven, who are both surprise inclusions in Tottenham's match against Chelsea, both of them picked up a bit of an injury. I think Van der Ven went off as well, didn't he, Archie? Yeah, so one of the defenders came on for Spurs, didn't they? Dragusin was Romero's replacement. So, yeah, I think Dragusin is probably a likelihood on the weekend to play. So currently form players, right, this second, you're going to pick replacements. Goalkeeper-wise, obviously Pickford didn't play on the weekend. Kelleher didn't neither. Henderson did quite well, albeit conceded 2 goals and only got a point in the end. I thought he looked okay until Manchester City came alive a little bit. Reyes, he's a bit of a down spiral, isn't he, really? Technically speaking, the only goalkeeper that had a clean sheet on the weekend was the Villa goalkeeper, wasn't it? Martinez. He got a clean sheet. Although saying that, strictly speaking, he's played 45 minutes against Chelsea. He's only really got 2 clean sheets all season. So if you're going to bring him in, he's probably not going to do much for you. Plus at 4.4 million, you can get some better players like the defenders of Aston Villa if you're desperate. Nottingham Forest sells is usually quite good, although let's be honest, it's been a bit sketchier recently. He got a clean sheet against Ipswich, and not much prior to that point. So it's a bit tricky. And the one thing I've read a lot about this so far is a lot of question marks about the defenders, goalkeepers this season. Who do you bring in? The go-to is obviously Liverpool and Arsenal, or has been Liverpool and Arsenal, and Forest as well, being pretty sturdy. Everyone else is a bit up in the air, aren't they, really? You're not going to get clean sheets for Man United at the moment, unfortunately, although they haven't done too badly, United. Under the radar a tiny bit. They've got 6 already. So, a lot of people haven't got United players, but if you have, 6 clean sheets is half decent, if we look at the general clean sheets across the board, they're top of the pile. So their fixtures don't look the greatest, though, mind you, that's a problem. Up next is Man City, and then maybe a little bit, and then Newcastle. I think they'll probably concede against Newcastle. Isak and that Gordon on fire as well. Isak especially on fire. Liverpool, yeah, they're going to get beaten by Liverpool. Then you look at the fixtures after that, potentially clean sheets, the odd one in there. Then Spurs, I think they'll probably do okay against Spurs, and good sets, and Arsenal in March. So if you look ahead, maybe Man United might be one to target. I am thinking about Dragusin long term, whether to keep him or to get rid of him. it depends really on the injury to Romero, how serious that is, and Van de Ven, who came off. I don't think they're going to be out forever, so might be worth targeting Man United. Plus, without Vicario, you know, Spurs look a bit edgy. So, goalkeeper wise, well, maybe if you've got the cash, Onana. Alisson's back very soon for Liverpool, so no point targeting Kelleher. I think his time's pretty much been and gone. Pope might be a shout for Newcastle, although again, Newcastle have been a bit shifty. They've only got 3 clean sheets this season, looking a bit probably not going to go near them. And then you look at everywhere else, really. I mean, Bournemouth have been good, but they haven't had necessarily a lot of clean sheets. They've got 2. I think they've got 2 anyway, unless, of course, I'm mistaken. Possibly. But yeah, that's yeah. So when it comes to goalkeepers, a lot of people might just stick with Sells, might go with Pickford. Pickford's been all right, hasn't he? Everton have done quite well recently. They've got 5 clean sheets. There's someone to target maybe. So Pickford, a Onana, a Sells, or if you've got the budget, Liverpool. But again, you rely really on clean sheets because Alisson's not going to get you. I think you got an assist last season, but that's about it. So from a goalkeeping perspective, there's the goalkeeping picks maybe. Pickford, Sells, unless you've got Raya and you're holding him. Yeah, those are probably the go-to. Maybe Onana going forwards. Then defenders. Let's have a look at our defenders. So Virgil van Dijk, right up there with the clean sheets. But let's have a look at the form side of things. So Saliba. Now, I think Saliba's only in form right this second because Gabriel's absence, really. I think if you watched the set piece yesterday that he scored, he almost took up the Gabriel position because Gabriel's out injured right this second. So I look at that and I think to myself, when Gabriel comes back, Saliba may not be quite such a threat. Although he is a threat from set pieces, Gabriel will be the focal point for that side of things. Young's gone under the radar, hasn't he, really? I don't think he's going to keep it up, to be honest. He's done well. I just don't see it, really. I've got to be honest. Time will tell with that one. I think he's being decent, but yeah, don't know. It's an unknown quantity, isn't he, really? Then you got Wan-Bissaka, who's a bit of a surprise package for West Ham. Again, it's West Ham. If he didn't get those 2 goals, he's conceded in that one game, hasn't he, really? And he's got a clean sheet against Newcastle, so it's okay. So maybe, probably not, though. Mikalenko, yeah, I didn't bring him in, but perhaps I should have done now in hindsight. He's done well, actually, isn't he? At West Ham, Brentford. Didn't do well against Man United, but then got an assist against Wolves and a clean sheet. So, Munoz was a big player, isn't he? He's a good player. He's done quite well recently for Crystal Palace. He's the one to target if you're going to bring someone in from Crystal Palace, if you haven't already got him. 4.7, 2.2% ownership as well, so quite low considering. Problem is with Palace, they are prone to sort of conceding to a degree, and then you rely on Munoz's output. So goal against Man City and a goal against Newcastle, yeah, maybe an option potentially. Tarkowski again with that Everton defence, that's what everyone's looking at, really. Julian Timber's a big one, isn't he? Being an Arsenal fan, I watched him yesterday and he was okay. He wasn't great, but then most of the Arsenal players are a bit. They were okay defensively, they weren't great, but Fulham were attacking them. And then you look at the goal. If he didn't score that against Man United, he gets just a clean sheet. Perhaps people don't fall over themselves to get him in, and he stays at 5.5. But now he's 5.6. Yeah, maybe an option. Branthwaite follows in the Everton footsteps, and if you're going to bring in an Everton player, he's back in the team, and it's no surprise that they've started doing well since he's been back in the team as well. Pedro Porro is a big one, isn't he? He's got an assist yesterday. Didn't do much in the previous 2 games, but scores. He's very attacking, isn't he? I think that's why people look at Pedro Porro, and that's why a few people have jumped on it. It's nearly 30% ownership. That's big for Porro. That really is a big play. He's a sort of Trent Alexander-Arnold without the the passing range, but he is very much attacking, isn't he? Really, he's almost like a winger. Emerson done well recently. Didn't do great against Leicester, but he played 28 minutes, to be fair to him. And obviously the Wolves match is tonight, so one to watch tonight. See how West Ham and Wolves do against each other. Huijsen, again, we're talking Bournemouth. If it wasn't for his goal, his form would be meh, wouldn't it, really, against Tottenham? So probably not to target. Bournemouth concede, but they do score well. Collins, similar scenario. If he didn't score and get an assist, he's looking at meh for Brentford. Brentford concede, unfortunately. That's the biggest problem. Then we've got Trent. Trent is a great player, isn't he? Really, but 7 million, he's like eats into the budget quite a bit, and that's why I've not be really gone for Trent for many a season. Call me mad. A lot of Liverpool fans are saying, "What? You haven't even considered him?" No, I've tried to find a cheap way into Liverpool defence for the clean sheets rather than the top end side of things for the assists and the goals. I mean, already this season he played quite a bit and he's only got 3 assists. So yeah, it's the clean sheets, the 6 clean sheets that have got him a lot more points predominantly. Uh, Jumping ahead though, we look at Cucurella and he's done okay recently. His price has gone up to 5.1. He got an assist against Spurs, which got him 4 points. He got an assist against Villa and a clean sheet, which got him 11. So he's done okay. I can see why people are sort of jumping on him to a degree. He does seem to be the starting left-sided fullback, doesn't he, really, for them? Robertson for Liverpool, similar really to trying to get your cheap way into Liverpool. The hope, I suppose, was Andy Robertson would be as attacking as he was that one season when him and Trent Alexander-Arnold were competing, weren't they? So the 2021, 2022, 23, 23 season, even 23, 24, he got 3 goals and 2 assists. That was good going from him. Not this season so far. Lacroix, again, if he didn't score the other day, he would have had a clean sheet and conceded against City. So his goal kept his form up in that sense, but otherwise probably not one to target. Plus, you can also go Chalobah. He's a cheap way into Crystal Palace's defence if you're going to jump on Crystal Palace. Gahey, naturally, everyone looks at. Henderson, the goalkeeper. Virgil van Dijk. Um, yeah, again, similar scenario to Konate and all the other sort of centre half that's going to play alongside him. He may get a goal. He did. He got an assist against Brentford, a goal against Arsenal. That aside, you rely very much on his clean sheets, really. I don't think he's been as attacking as he has done in recent seasons, but then he might end up the season with 2 goals and 2 assists like he did last season. 2 and 2, and he got 3 and 1 the season before that. So Virgil right now is not really a watch. Gabriel's out injured, 6.2. There are cheaper ways into the Arsenal defence, as we've already said at the top, with Saliba at 6.1, so you could save 0.1. You won't get the same kind of output. That's the whole point, isn't it, really? Same goes for Timber. We don't know who's on the left right now because Calafiori's out injured, do we? So, yeah, maybe back in the team. At least I think Calafiori's out injured, from what I remember. Yes, he is. He's got a knock, hasn't he, really? So, yeah, if you're looking at form, the first page sort of shows a lot of Stupinan's come back into form again. Robinson's done quite. Murillo and Milinkovic, they did well. If it wasn't for, mind you saying that, if Milinkovic doesn't score yesterday, he's got the same form as Murillo, hasn't he? Conceded, and then got a clean sheet, conceded, clean sheet, conceded, clean sheet. It's very stop-start, isn't it, really? So it tends to be home form for Nottingham Forest. So if you've got someone to rotate, Nottingham Forest might be a good shout for rotating. Robinson and Tete for the guys over at Fulham. Decent. I mean, again, he's got 4 assists, and that's why he's gone up to 4.7, Anthony Robinson. So, yeah, I can see why people want a piece of Robinson. Tete yesterday got an assist. He's got 2 already this season. Okay player. Not someone I'll be looking at the start of the season to bring in. Mazraoui, interesting to see how he does. He played 24 minutes against Forest. Yeah, be interesting now because I think is the question I suppose for Manchester United fans out there and just in general, is your back 3 set as Yoro, De Ligt and Martinez? If it is, that gives you Mazraoui, Amad Diallo. It also gives you Dallo as well. Those 3 players as sort of fullbacks, and I know Amad Diallo isn't fullback, but he's been playing on that sort of side, hasn't he, attacking? It'd be interesting on, I think is it on Wednesday, Thursday that United have got a match, the European game. It'd be interesting to see if they rest players, who they play, so you could see exactly what Amorim's idea is for his defence going forwards. He might even rest some players on purpose, and then we might not get anything. Technically speaking, this week is not the week to bring in Man United. I think Man City will score against them, so target them afterwards, I think, in that sense. So yeah, that is the big match, isn't it? At 4:30 on Sunday. So let's have a little look. Villa, again, I think it might be a bit too early to jump on Villa, despite them getting a clean sheet against Southampton. A lot of teams are doing well against Southampton this season, so nothing to sort of write home about. Lamptey's done okay. Stupinan's done okay, but he's not really the one forward. And then Martinez squeezes himself into the first page. Yellow card magnet, this man. He's got 5 already this season, but yeah, he's a good player. But just when you think you're getting a clean sheet, bang, yellow card, you're getting 5 instead. So yeah, in terms of defenders, it'd be interesting to see what happens. I think a lot of people will say, "Oh yeah, the form already shows you need to have an Everton player, you need to have an Arsenal player, you need to have this, this, this." I'm not so sure. I think defence and goalkeepers a bit up in the air at the moment. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree. We'll jump on to the midfielders. So Salah, come on, everyone's got Salah pretty much, I think, and are captaining him. Apart from the fact that there was a postponed game going forwards, I've read a lot about they're going to captain Salah for the next game week, regardless. Palmer had a great game week. Well done to the guys who put Palmer down as captain. I know a lot of people did. Bruno did okay. He scored. Saka didn't do well this weekend. Enzo under the radar. This guy, isn't he? He's done really, really well. 4.9 million. Maybe I'll have to keep an eye on his form because again, I'm looking at alternatives for Jorginho Ruta at the moment because Jorginho is playing, but he's just, he hasn't done anything for a couple of game weeks now, and I'd expect at least an assist or something to show an attacking there. But I think João Pedro's return has wrecked things a little bit for Ruta. Sade didn't play a full 90, came on and scored though, mind you. Again, Visa and Buemo are the attacking options, aren't they, really, for Brentford? Kluivert, again, didn't do anything in the previous 2 matches and then got big goals against Wolves. So to me, it's a no. Iwobi's a good player, isn't he? He's done quite well quite recently. He was okay, but he was quite non-existent against Arsenal. Couple of good touches, but that's about it, really. Amad Diallo, we spoke about him before. I've got him on my radar. I'm definitely looking at him. He's going up, so I'm conscious of that. Already 5.1. Odegaard, well, I've got Saka, so there's no need to worry about that. Damsgaard, not interested in him. Bueno is too expensive, and he did do quite well the other day as well. Was that a one-off Newcastle? Sort of wait and see, isn't it, again with him? Mitoma didn't do anything for 2 game weeks, did well against Southampton and Bournemouth, but didn't do anything after that. So it's a no-go for Mitoma for now. Plus I have Jorginho Ruta, who's basically I've got the same kind of form. Rashford, 31 minutes and 31 minutes again. That's not good. That tells me that the manager still isn't sure. He's preparing him and he's not quite 100%. Maddison didn't play full 90, but got an assist. Don't like Maddison. Prefer to have Johnson. Great player, mind you, Maddison, but Brennan is equally as good. Mandawake didn't play properly yesterday, so he's a no-go. Ismail Assar, again, I think he had one opportunity against Man City. That was it. Didn't do much. Sancho is an interesting one, actually. I have kept an eye on him, but again, he's not a guaranteed starter. This man got a goal and assist. That's the reason why his form's up there. So Bosley didn't play, and even then, it's on and off, isn't it, with him with points? And we're talking points here. Great player. Does that equate to points on Fantasy Premier League? No. João Gomez, not really neither. Got Thomas, and Trossard is a rotation risk with Martinelli. De Bruyne's back. Did well against Forest. Didn't do great against Crystal Palace. Plus, obviously, Haaland is the penalty taker for them. Barnes did well, but I'm not going to get into that trap. I've already had Harvey Barnes, and he did okay for 1 game and then was kicked out of the team for the next. Again, Anthony Gordon. 30 minutes is not great, is it? I wonder if he's got an injury, and that's why. Kulusevski is an interesting player, isn't he? Again, he's a bit sketchy with form, but again, Bronnon Johnson's my go-to. Son did well, but he's too expensive for a Spurs asset, in my opinion. You've got Solanke, you've got Johnson. Those two are the go-to, I suppose. And McNeil, 2 assists. Is he back? He's dropped right down to 5.4. He went up to 5.8 at one point, so maybe. I used to keep an eye on McNeil. So yeah, looking at that, I mean, I don't see anything reason to change the 4 unless Johnson's injury is serious because he went off early, didn't he, against Chelsea. Rutter and keeping an eye on Johnson. Dragosine out potentially at some point, maybe a United player, maybe Mikalenka, but I'm not sure about his fixtures coming up. Kwanzaa I'll probably keep, and then the front 3 are looking good for me. But you guys, obviously, if you're making transfers, Palmer's the go-to, Fernandez is a go-to player, Enzo on your radar, Amad Diallo for a cheap 5.5 way into Man United's team if you're after that, and then keeping predominantly what you've already got, because presumably you've got a Salah, you've got a Palmer, you've got a Saka, or you've got someone along those lines in your team as well. Judging by the percentages, the majority of you got Salah, Palmer, Saka, and Buemo, Rodgers, potentially Smith Rowe. Fernandez increasing in percentages. So yeah, quite a lot going on. So keep what you've got to a degree. If you're happy with your team, keep it. Forwards wise, now this is the big rotation. I've seen so many posts, Reddit, online, just in general, on the internet, on X, on Facebook, about people who are playing around with this. Isak is the go-to right now, isn't he? Really, everyone's fallen over themselves to get Isak with such a high form. He scored in his last few, hasn't he? Really. So goal against Brentford, a goal against Liverpool, and an assist. Didn't do much against Crystal Palace, but to be fair, 21 minutes. Did something against Forest, did something against Arsenal, Chelsea. He is a good player, to be fair. And at 8.6, he's top end stuff, though. I can't afford him, but if you've got him, well, it makes kind of sense, to be honest with you. Visa is my man. He's got equally as good form, nearly as the rest of them. Equally as good as João Pedro is another player that everyone's looking at, has brought in. He didn't do much. He got an assist against Fulham and a goal assist. I guess it's because he's sort of exploded back after his injury that everyone sort of fell over themselves and clambered over themselves to get him into their team. Cheap player at 5'9" as well. Yeah, he's gone up too much even for me to consider him, to be honest with you. So he's a no-go. Cunha was a big player. Everyone went, Cunha, got to get Cunha. He's done nothing for the people who brought him in after Fulham. Nothing against Bournemouth, nothing against Everton. And tonight we'll see how he does against West Ham. Again, my cheap player for 6 million-ish, 7 million-ish is Reece at the moment. Ivan Nielsen wasn't good for the past 2 games, but to be fair, he had Spurs and Ipswich. Again, he's one to watch, but not to bring in. Watkins, 32 minutes yesterday because Duran was preferred, wasn't he? Yeah, John Duran played instead against Southampton and even scored as well, for that matter. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with Watkins. Certainly isn't the definite forward man, and I think he's also been a bit sort of sounded out by teams. You know, they've cottoned on to how he plays a lot more. Vardy just keeps going. I said that in the previous part. One definitely on the watch list at 5.5 million. You know, if I get a bit fed up of Riso, if I want to change the team around, he's potentially a go-to player. But it's Leicester at the end of the day, and it's a bit. Nicholas Jackson fell off the cliff a little bit, but still a great player. Didn't play against Southampton, which shocked a lot of people because he was rested. Played against Tottenham and didn't do anything. Nkunku did do well against Southampton, but thankfully only took 15 minutes off Nicholas Jackson against Spurs. So I'm hoping that Nicholas Jackson just carries on, gets another goal, shows Mereshka that he is clearly the number one striker for that team. Chris Wood is just an absolute, it's rare that I praise a player so highly, but we're talking about a guy who was signed with the idea of not necessarily leading the line, was it? It was Awonyi last year and all these other players, isn't it? And this season he's just been fabulous. Really, really good. Last season he even got 14 goals and assists. He's already got 10. He's already got 10 this season. We haven't even the halfway mark. I think he can surpass that, and I think he could be a great player. Really, really good player. So big fan of him. Yes, Haaland. I've always said about Haaland, he is he's going to score. He's going to get more goals. Definitely. So keep an eye on Haaland. You heard it here first. I trust him. I really, really do. It's not last resort for me or last chance saloon for me. He remains in the team because I think he's going to start scoring again, and people will be trying to get 15 million forward into their teams desperately. Good luck with that. Strand Larsen's been all right. Again, we'll see how he does tonight. On and off a little bit. Mateta's been good, hasn't he? But again, it's one of those, isn't it, with him? He's a bit of a like Raul, the two of them, and even Black, the three of them sit in that uncertain bracket, really. It's why they're priced accordingly. Xerxes is basically in competition with Hoyland, so that's probably a no-go. Armstrong, yeah, you can see Solanke, Gakpo, Havertz. Havertz is an interesting one, scoring again against West Ham and then assisting against Fulham, involved. That's all you need from a player, really. Bearing in mind Saka wasn't involved, but again, Saka's my Arsenal coverage, and a great coverage he is too. Darwin you can't trust because of Jota being back in training. On top of that, you've got Luis Diaz and other players that are fighting for their attacking spots. Calvert-Lewin, plays, assisted against Wolves, didn't play against the Merseyside derby. Not sure about him, probably a no-go. Daka, I'll be interested if Daka gets more minutes. Cheap 4.8 Leicester. Vardy can't play every game, and Daka's got the pace as well. Archer, again, if you want a cheap player, but again, I look at this set, and a big thing about Antonio, big news about Antonio, real disappointment. He's out for a year. Potentially, he's looking at retiring as a possibility, or the rumours have been about he might be retiring. I hope not. I do have a soft spot for Mikel Antonio. So, ladies and gents, the fixtures for Saturday are, as you see on the screen. We'll go into them in more detail in the Wednesday show and in the Friday show leading up to the Saturday, 14th of December, game week 16. I will start talking about who I'm planning to pick, who I'm looking at captaining as the week goes on. So, the next part will be on Wednesday at 10 o'clock in the morning. That'll be part 13. This one was more looking at the form players, what's going on, who you should be picking if you haven't already picked someone. That's my team. Your team may not be the same. Share it. As always, my socials. I'm on Facebook, AJP85-channel. I'm on X, AJ1985P. I'm on Twitch, A_J_P_8_5. And I'm also on YouTube, AJ Hardy85. Follow, subscribe, and like, please, and we could be special friends. I say this every single time we can. Yeah, there's nothing special about what I do. I love what I do. I love doing content stuff, especially football-related stuff. So yeah, there's literally me headset, mouse, and laptop. That's all you need in the conservatory, freezing your ass off. But no, share your team, screenshot your team, stick it on X or on Facebook. Let me have a look at it. I'll have a chat to you. We can bounce ideas. Comment. Don't just be one of these people that stalks. But yeah, do so. Otherwise, I'll see you guys, you fabulous people, on Wednesday at 10 o'clock in the morning. And we'll chat a little bit more about fantasy. We'll talk about the week coming up. We'll talk about game week 16, which is very, very soon, approaching us quicker than you think. You know, that deadline will be here before you know it. But otherwise, I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Look at those form players. I'm sure you do anyway. Check out Reddit. Check out all the sources out there, X and Facebook as well. See what you think. Chat to me. I'll give you some specifics about your team. I've been doing this for 10, 15 years now, fantasy, and I absolutely love it. So, you know, I've got ideas. You might look at my team and think, what the hell does he know about fantasy? I know a lot more than you think. Football is something I absolutely drink and sleep and breathe. I absolutely love it. So chat to me. We'll have a talk about it. Otherwise, look out for my posts across the socials, and